What a dramatic game tonight for the Jets against the Chiefs. John Chandler is live at MetLife Stadium, where he experienced Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes,
Yes.
and Zach Wilson. John, there was a little bit of everything, including a feisty comeback by Gang Green.
Yeah, Bruce, if you thought in the third quarter with about 3 minutes to play that the Jets were going to author a comeback and have a chance to win this football game, I think you'd be the only one in this building or watching who would have thought that. But here come the Jets behind Zach Wilson. And by the end of this, no, the Jets didn't get a win. But the joke going around was maybe if Zach could pull this out, Taylor Swift would leave Travis Kelce for Zach Wilson because he looked pretty good here tonight. And I think coming out of that Jets locker room, there's a lot of confidence in the way Zach played. Moral victories, you know, we don't like those. We don't like to talk about those. But the Jets are not as down as you would expect after a loss.
John, more on Zach. He was 28 for 39, 245 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He had a 105.2 rating, which was much better than Mahomes, who was 63.6. The team rushed for 108 yards, but it was really Wilson who kept the team in the game, and Aaron Rodgers was cheering for him for much of the night. What was the reaction in terms of Zach and what he did to give the Jets a fighting chance?
Well, I think, Bruce, the narrative coming in, and obviously we know how negative it was surrounding Zach, and Zach's the first to admit, hey, I haven't played well. I got to kind of own this, and I got to play up to expectations. But I don't think anyone expected going into this game, okay, if Zach Wilson can outplay Patrick Mahomes. Everybody thought that's not going to happen. Well, guess what? It happened. Zach Wilson put it out there and played an impressive game, and it really clicked for this Jets team in the second quarter to the point where you were asking the question going in, is Zach Wilson holding back this Jets offense? But all of a sudden you started wondering, is the Jets offensive play calling holding back Zach Wilson? Because Nathaniel Hackett, the second quarter, start of the third quarter, called some of his best series with the Jets so far and really played to Zach Wilson's strengths. Kind of let the kid just go out and throw it. Got creative, threw a little trickeration in there, and you could see the confidence build for Zach Wilson. And all those players know, they've been saying it all along, he can throw. We believe in Zach. That wasn't lip service, and we saw that here tonight.
So Zach Wilson is now 8-17 as a starter, and it was that one turnover, John, that killed him, that fumble late in the game after being perfect throughout most of the night.
Yeah, and Zach Wilson was really frustrated and down after this game because, you know, it was there for him. And this mistake, and you kept wondering, when's that turnover going to happen? Because here's Patrick Mahomes throwing interceptions, and for most of this game, there were 0 turnovers from Zach Wilson. And then the bad snap. Kansas City looked like they were coming with a blitz. Maybe that rattled Zach a little bit. That certainly was frustrating. But the Jets are emphasizing that they have to turn this into a positive. Zach Wilson played above expectations. He showed them that he can be the quarterback at least for the next week and maybe even longer after this one.
I know I say it all the time up here with his practice and how he practices. He's been practicing outstanding, and it's probably why I get up here and I say what I say. But I was just really happy for him to go out and show that he does belong, that he can play in this league. And like I said, if he plays that way, we're going to win a lot of football games.
To be driving right there and to drop a snap, you know, I cannot do that. You know, I lost us that game, and I cannot do that. And I was making it clear to those guys that I need to be better. I need to be better on the little things, the details. It can't happen.
Here's the thing. Hold off on Carson Wentz. Hold off on Matt Ryan. Hold off on Trevor Siemian. Zach Wilson showed he can play tonight, Zach.
And I like the humility he showed. He didn't have to show it tonight. He doesn't have to prove it. Wasn't all on him. And if you look at Mahomes for a moment, he did struggle for much of the game. He had the 2 picks, almost had a 3rd pick. But, John, it was those 2 big runs late in the game that sealed it for Kansas City, and that's what makes Mahomes special. The 25-yard run and then the play on 3rd and 8 at the 11 where he got the first down right after the 2-minute warning. What about those 2 plays?
Yeah, those are the plays, Bruce, that you're always waiting for with Patrick Mahomes. No matter how rough of a game he has, you can feel it coming around the corner, and you're just worried that he's going to go out and do something like that. And that's why when we talk about the pressure that Zach Wilson and the offense's struggles in weeks before put on this Jets defense, where they had to be perfect, you're feeling that a little bit against the Chiefs, where you got to go out and be perfect. And, it's really hard to do that against a Kansas City Chiefs team led by Patrick Mahomes. No matter how difficult a game he has, if you keep it close, you're always giving him a chance.
That holding penalty on Sauce Gardner. You could see it on Robert Saleh's face. Yeah. He is still angry about that call. It negated a third interception of the night. This might be the play of the game that made it a Kansas City victory.
Yeah, and Bruce, I just talked to Sauce Gardner in the locker room about that, and I asked him point blank, do you think the referees bailed Kansas City out by making that call? And he shrugged and said, listen, I think so. I feel like we would have had momentum after that. It was a crucial play. Sauce knew it. Everybody here knew it. And Sauce did not think that he committed a penalty on that play. More importantly, he said, well, the refs do call a good game in that spot. He felt like you just couldn't throw that flag. Here's Sauce afterwards.
If you really gonna call holding, call it early. Don't wait till after you see MC pick the ball off to throw the flag. Like, me personally, that's like when you play basketball and one-on-one and you go up to lay the ball up and you wait to see you miss and then say foul. Like, I can't believe that. Shot that they try to take, that's not going, then they finally get bailed out by that. Fourth quarter, crunch time, like, I mean, like, that's, I don't know what to say.
I can't believe that. Boy, does that really sum it up. I can't believe that. It sure does sum it up from Sauce Gardner afterwards. Clearly frustrated, knowing that that play and that call was the very last thing the Jets could have in that moment. And he felt like he played a great game the entire way. Said Kansas City wasn't throwing his way most of the game, and he's right.
Everyone doesn't throw his way because he's Sauce Gardner. Aaron Rodgers was in the house, John, for the first time since September 11th when he tore his Achilles tendon. He was part of the team meeting on Saturday. His message was to stop pointing fingers. What do you think his presence meant to the team tonight?
Bruce, it meant everything, and Garrett Wilson especially hammered that point home in the locker room afterwards. I was talking to Garrett about just what Aaron's message was. He says, well, he talked to us last night, but to see him out here today after making that trip, it just kind of did something to them. It gave them a spark, it gave them a lift, and really gave them confidence. And he said that message in the locker room last night also brought some perspective that he hadn't really considered. He said, Aaron was out in California watching from afar and hearing all that noise and listening to what was being said about the Jets. And he said he came in here and he said, this is what they're saying about you, and it's just outside noise. Focus on what you're doing and have that confidence, because I saw it in training camp. And Garrett said we really needed to hear that reemphasized from him, knowing that he was with them in the summer, and then to come back 3 weeks after the injury and reemphasize that here. And, I'll tell you, Aaron was pacing on the sideline. We saw the crutches. At one point, he ditched those crutches. He was talking it up with people, and I know he emphasized to the Sunday Night Football crew that he really does want to try and get back as soon as possible. It was really surprising, Bruce, to see him on the sideline, especially when he put the crutches down for a moment.
I wouldn't doubt him. Now, John, this was much more than a football game. As we know, Travis Kelce's jersey sales are up 400%. He and his brother's New Heights podcast is #1 on the Apple charts. Kelce's Instagram is up 900,000 to 3.6 million. Talk about Taylor Swift, Kelce mania for me.
There sure was a buzz in here. Aaron Rodgers was the second most famous spectator sitting up in the suites here tonight because, everybody was looking, including players and coaches, craning their necks before the game, wondering if they'd catch a glimpse of Taylor Swift, and wondering, okay, what suite is she in? Let's figure this out. And really to see that play out, to see cell phones that were usually pointed at the field during a game, they were all pointed up at the suite that she was in. I guess at the end of the day, the Chiefs maybe thought they would come in here and they would get, I don't know if I would say an easy win against a Jets team that have been struggling, but they got to fight. Welcome to New York. It's been waiting for you. The Jets had a little something for Kansas City, just wasn't quite enough on this night, Bruce.
John, some final thoughts from you, and that is the Jets. Did they find something tonight? Did they find a quarterback that can bridge the gap until Aaron Rodgers can return? Or was this just a flash in the pan, great evening for Zach Wilson? Or did he really make some huge progress?
Bruce, I think it's hard to know from one game, but I think the elements are all there to work with. We saw it on one drive against the Patriots last week. They opened it up more here, and I think at least going forward to Denver, a winnable game, by the way, that Zach and the Jets have some confidence coming out of this.
Thanks very much, John. We really appreciate your efforts tonight out there at MetLife Stadium with the amazing cameraman and good friend of all of ours, Jimmy Roberts. Coming up next.